So you're all very, very welcome to this first episode of the Business of E-commerce podcast. And I've got some really, really great guests here with me today. We've got Vashti Joseph, we've got Liz Greehey, Anne Gallagher, and Nikunj Mehta. And each are going to tell me what they do in a little while and how the challenges of the last year, where we saw huge, huge changes in the world of e-commerce, has affected their work for good or ill. But each week we'll have the big man himself with us, who's going to give us nuggets of information. The man that helped so many people in the e-commerce world, John Leach. How are you, John?
Evening, Brendan. Not too bad. And
Good.
yeah, I'm going to have to get you to start using the word tall rather than big, because I think big means going to be something else, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen, John. It's the first in the series, and you know, we were chatting just before we went on air, if I can call it that, to everyone here. So I know we're going to have a lovely, very interesting chat and a lot of fun. Um, but it's serious as well, isn't it? The business of e-commerce. Can you tell us, just in general, um, how do you think the last year has played out uh, for for e-commerce? And let's look especially at companies that were set up well and competing well maybe before COVID, and all of a sudden they have to compete with so many other sites and maybe pressures.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing. Like, it's a cliche. It's almost tried to say, look, the last year, 15 months has been very different for everybody. That's for sure. And I've been in the space probably 25 years now. And I think over the last 12 months, we've seen a lot of the old benchmarks and metrics that we followed, have skewed, very differently. Everything from when people open emails, suddenly they're no longer on a morning commute. They're looking at them, they're working from home, so they're looking at them in the evening. So our timings on email campaigns had changed, and lots of other small details as you try to work through it. I think one of the things that we experienced certainly at the start of the pandemic and lockdowns, etc., was I had long been talking to people and saying, look, 15 to 20% of the market has moved online. And if you're not delivering 15 to 20% of your revenue as a retailer, well, then you're conceding a huge part of the market and a huge space to other people. And even if it's not the most profitable segment for you right now, I think you needed to be online to learn, get developed, get your toe in the water, understand how this operation works, because it is a little bit different from your normal retail business, as it were. So certainly clients who had any sort of an infrastructure set up on a basic shop, this time last year or last March, were in a much better position then to accelerate and improve and go forward. And I think that advice still sort of holds sound today, that even if you've not done very much, or if you've treated the pandemic as a short-term thing, that you've just put some things in place to get you around an initial period, I would say don't think of it like that. Think of this as a long-term change, and you're going to have to continue to develop it over the next 2 or 3 years. And I think the clients who are thinking about it in that way are putting together a good medium-term plan. Because even we're all used to things happening instantly and having to happen instantly, but I think you have to have a short and a medium-term plan to be successful, and to pick out the new metrics and the new parts of your business that you have to focus on in order to be successful going forward. Because while e-commerce is still a business, so the old rules of you have to have the right product at the right price, you have to have a competitive edge and a differentiation, you have to deliver really good customer experience, and you have to build trust with your audience. Like, that's true of any business. It doesn't matter whether it's online or offline. It's just the methods to do that online is slightly different. And while people have moved online, the problem is businesses have moved online as well. So now you're competing with every pharmacy, in the country is selling some beauty products or wherever. You've got all sorts of food products on there as well. And, we've been starved of real experiences and how to recreate on, in-person events, online, all of that sort of stuff. Everybody's been really struggling and learning and trying to adapt over the last year. So I don't see this as a short-term change. I think we've jumped from the 20% number that I used, and people would have said, like Revolut would have said, over 50% of their transactions were online in September. And that's because there was no other game in town. I think that will obviously fall back as businesses open up and people start to shop in real live stores as well. But we've certainly accelerated, I think, 3, 4, maybe 5 years forward in the space of a year in terms of what that trajectory and development was anyway. So, you know, that's I think the reality facing most businesses today, and we have to just focus in on a couple of the core metrics, the core measurements around customer experience and competitiveness. And if we focus on those as e-commerce operators, then I think we can build a basis to be successful going forward for sure.
Okay. Now, before I go to the rest of the panel, it just occurred to me there, what you do, John, you basically advise and help and consult a lot of different businesses in terms of their needs with digital marketing and e-commerce and all that. I'm curious to know, with all of your clients would say, and you don't have to name them now, but have you seen clients that have seriously jumped, who were ready for this kind of a process to happen and have seriously taken advantage of that? And on the flip side, have you seen some of your clients that were really resisting this, or how did it work there?
Yeah. I mean, it's been honest, it's been across the whole spectrum. So we've had 1 or 2 companies that from last July, August, their conversion rates have gone through, have doubled, and they're now, you know, probably doing 3, 4, 5 times the revenue online per month as they were coming up to July last year. You have other clients that had big spikes at different stages, and certainly even a spike coming into November, December, and earlier this year for Christmas, because people were worried about deliveries, etc. And then we had a couple of customers, interestingly, who had better Januaries than they had Decembers, which I have to admit, and this was even a giftware client, which, to be honest, still has me puzzled as to why their January was really, really good. So there's been a lot of variation. And then we've had a number of people who have seen a good increase, you know, through the course of last year, and now we're beginning to see that traffic tail off and that performance tail off. And that's where we're trying to work to go recover their performance and see if it's that we can continue to improve it going forward. So it hasn't been uniform, Brendan. I'd say it's certainly been a mix as we work with different clients. You know.
Okay.
Success is not guaranteed in the space. You have to be working at it, I'm afraid.
You have to work at it. Okay. Listen, I'm going to chat to the others now, and let me start with Vashti Joseph. Beautiful name for a startup, Vashti, and you told us beforehand it is biblical.
Yes.
From the book of
Esther.
From the book of Esther. Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty strong feminist story. I recommend everyone checking out the first book.
Okay, listen, I'm going to write it down, the book of Esther. I'll be reading the Bible at home now, and my wife will be looking at me saying, "He's found God at last," you know. Vashti, I want to hear about your story first, and then you know what brought you to Ireland for this period is interesting for me, and then tell us about Renaissance Equities and what you do and how this year has changed e-commerce life for you guys.
Definitely. So we are an e-commerce holding company, and we currently hold 3 different businesses that cater to different demographics. Right now, the reason I am in Ireland is because we are sourcing Irish sea moss. Chondrus crispus is the name of the species,
Okay.
and it grows only in Ireland on the west coast, and it is because of the water temperature, which I have recently learned. So it cannot grow in other places where the ocean temperature fluctuates throughout the year. So I found that very interesting. So I'm working with a local supplier. They're in Connemara, and they're very lovely. Connemara Seaweed Company. I'm going to give them a shout out.
I know them, yeah.
Yeah, Noel is wonderful. Everybody that works there is really great. So I'm looking forward to going back in a few weeks to finalize our agreement. And we're also going to be taking pictures and getting to know the team. And we hope for a very long and fruitful partnership for many, many years.
Great.
But it has been interesting for us in the last year, especially because we've always been an e-commerce company. We never had a brick and mortar location. We've always done our own fulfillment. We have our own internal customer service team. We just recently brought our marketing team in-house. And we like it that way because it helps us to be more agile. So in a market that is rapidly changing, something like the internet, where we're nowhere where we were last year, I think it's important to be able to pivot your strategy and also be able to respond to the market quickly when you see that there are trends emerging. And that's where we've sort of come in with the Irish CMOS as well. And to the point of how it's changed in the last year, we just started Infinite Age about a year ago. So we consider ourselves like a pandemic baby. We got started during the pandemic and we've continued to thrive throughout the pandemic because our customers have always received the same customer service, the same product, the same experience throughout the entire time, which I think has helped to build a lot of trust.
You started Infinite Age about a year ago. Did you start it, Vashti, or was it that it came into your control, if you know what I mean? You took it over.
Yes.
Yeah.
So our owner and CEO partnered with an influencer who is the co-founder of Infinite Age last March. I have only been with the company actually since last November. So I'm just now about to hit my 8-month anniversary since I started with the company. But it has gone in an upward trajectory, especially as we've brought more of our marketing team in-house, because now we understand better what kind of data we should be looking at, and have also learned to rely more heavily on our customer service team to help us really understand what our customers are enjoying and how we can help them.
Brilliant. And one last question for you at this point, Vashti. How did you come across the Irish CMOS, or I'll call it the Connemara CMOS?
Yes. So there's actually only 2 companies or suppliers in Ireland that harvest sea moss. So it wasn't hard to find. There's only 2. And
no, I guess my question before that, how did you even hear about it, or know that it had the properties that you required?
Oh, definitely. So it's kind of a long story, but I will summarize it for you. In the United States, there is a person called Dr. Sebi who became really well known over the last 10 years as sort of an ambassador for Irish sea moss. And I'm using air quotes right now because what he was promoting was in fact not Irish sea moss. It was a different species, Gracilaria, which is also a sea moss, but it does not grow in Ireland. It grows in the Caribbean, in places like Jamaica and St. Lucia. And you can tell the difference just by looking at it. The Gracilaria species is much more stringy, looks like spaghetti. And the Irish sea moss looks more leafy. It's more beautiful, if I may say so. So you can immediately tell that there's a difference. There is also a slight nutritional difference, but part of what we are trying to do with our company is really educate our customers as to what the difference is. And this has meant that we've had to do a lot of nutritional analysis, chemical analysis, and we want to be data backed, science backed, and really tell people this is what is in this product, this is what it's going to be beneficial for, and really set ourselves up as an expert on this particular subject.
Okay, thanks. Is it amazing how national pride works? I was even, really feeling great about how you were describing our CMOS there.
Well, I do love Ireland. I wish I could stay here longer.
Let's go to Liz. Liz Greehey, you were telling us earlier you're also surrounded by CMOS where you're located. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. Seaweed definitely. I'm sure CMOS as well. Yeah, we're located on the very beautiful Loophead Peninsula. And our little art gallery is right on the road to the lighthouse. So we're literally surrounded on 3 sides by water. The Atlantic on one side and the Shannon on the other. So it's a a very beautiful place
Beautiful.
to be. Yeah.
Tell us about your art gallery, and tell us now about how the last year has been for you guys business-wise in terms of e-commerce.
Yeah, well, I mean, we obviously, well, perhaps not obviously, but we weren't an e-commerce business. We were very lucky that a couple of years ago we had actually availed of the trading online vouchers that were on offer there with the local development companies to build a website, and it was a beautiful website, and we had it there, and we were uploading to it, but we weren't particularly focused on it because we were in a very high traffic tourist spot, and as you can imagine, 7 days a week we were consumed by people coming in and out the door, and then all of a sudden COVID happened, and we had to make a kind of a decision. Are we going to just stay closed, or will we now shift onto this new shop front, if you like? I suppose the biggest concern for us was how many people were buying art online. Was it a thing? Now, we knew it was a thing because there are other very big art websites doing it successfully, but was it a thing that a small little gallery in West Clare was going to be able to navigate? And it turns out yes is the answer. I think we were probably quite lucky that Loophead as a community, they actually, during COVID, they kind of scrambled together and put on a digital academy, if you like, which got everyone up to speed. We had Joanne Sweeney, and we also had Zuka Films mentoring us all and kind of teaching us how to kind of get digital savvy. That was a real help to us. And I would say that mastering, if you can, because obviously in business, you're doing so many different things and you are so many things to so many areas of your business. But if you can acquire some digital skills, it's really beneficial, or even if you're in a position to afford to get someone to do your search engine optimization or whatever, to do it and to really put that focus into it, because it just opened up a whole global marketplace for us. We were building on 7 years of a good established client base already. So in a sense, we did have very early on, we had established an email list, and we had a strong email marketing system on the go. But we had to learn on our feet. We had a good in-house photographer anyway, so that was lucky. And we had someone who helps with all our logistics here every day with shipping and packing. So really, in a sense, we were kind of set up without knowing it. We just had to put our focus very strongly into delivering the same customer service that we did on the shop floor online, which we had to do a bit of thinking about. But I think we're learning every day, but I think we're trying to achieve it. Yeah.
So in many ways, it kind of opened up the world to you guys, did it?
Yeah, and it really did. I mean, we are shipping art almost every day, I would say, to different parts of the world, a lot of Europe, Ireland, America. And it's amazing. It's amazing that people are taking this leap of faith, but we've put a lot of effort into telling our brand story, to kind of making sure that people know this is a family business. It's been rooted in tradition. We're not artists. I couldn't draw a straight line for you, but I have absolutely appreciated it and been surrounded by it since I was very small. So I think that's the key for me. That was the key, was pushing the story, and you can trust us. We have a lot of experience in it. We will ensure it. We will ship it worldwide. We will make sure it gets to you, safely. And
and I think the other thing I noticed, Liz, when I was looking at the site was, and even in case where you had particularly heavy sculptures, say, hey, you're going to have to talk to us about this. It was very transparent at all steps of the journey, which I think is great. It's really part of that service mentality. And I think you hit on two things there. The email list, I think, is such an undervalued thing by so many businesses, and they're sitting on it and they're not using it, or they haven't collected it. And it's 20% of most successful e-com stores that I've worked with is coming from their email activity. So if you're and it's relatively cheap, so that was interesting to hear that. That's
absolutely. We started our email list almost by accident at the very beginning of when we opened our gallery. We put a little kind of visitors book there and said, if you want to keep up to date with us, give us your email address. And loads and loads of people did, and they were always really happy to get, you know, we didn't bombard them, but nonetheless, every now and then we'd send a little update. And I suppose being a tourist business, we had a lot of people from overseas, so they were even happier, I suppose, maybe to get a little nugget of information or whatever. But we discovered when we went online in a fully kind of, well, almost fully e-commerce way, that that was invaluable to us, because these were people who had already probably bought from us. They knew, they did trust us. We didn't have to prove it to them, because they'd probably already dealt with us. And I do think that people, maybe in the art world, it's more obvious because people are collectors generally or whatever. People do undervalue the customer that you've already had, rather than just trying to always chase the new customer. I think both are equally important.
I think that's good advice. Yeah.
And particularly at the sort of price points that you're dealing with, etc. You know, those existing customers are gold dust in terms of even referrals or other ways, you know, down the road. So yeah, I think that's really interesting, and it reassures me, because it's a conversation we've been having with a number of clients, and we've seen proof elsewhere, and that's really interesting to hear.
Yeah, it's really important. We were lucky with our photographer; she's brilliant. So I think having good quality imagery and having and video, I would say video is very important as well. All of those things, they kind of play into getting your emails right and getting your kind of content right. We don't always get it right because we're only learning. We really are only learning, but we're enjoying the journey so far.
Yeah.
Great.
It's an expression I use with all the clients to say, look, you're actually in the content business now, whether you know it or not, or whether you like it or not. And your content is your sales assistant. It's the person that's going to sell for you. You know, you're not standing in front of a customer anymore. It's your content that's got to do the work for you. And if you skimp on that, or you take a shortcut on it, it has an impact. It has an adverse impact down the road.
Absolutely, it really does. Yeah.
Let's turn to Anne now. Anne Gallagher, the Beauty Kit.
Hi, Brendan.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Tell us about yourself, where you're located, and about your business.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I'm located in Dublin, and like Vashti's situation there, I'm the same. We're fully e-commerce. So my business has always been online. We have no bricks and mortar either. So my background is actually in marketing. So I spent, I suppose 18 years at this stage working in big companies, working in marketing. So L'Oreal for about 8 years, followed by Spar Ireland here for about 4 years. And working with big brands that had big budgets, you know, I had agencies to do everything. And then I made the decision to leave my job and start this business, which was a bit of a shock to the system, because it tore away all that support, you know, all that, where I felt I had all that knowledge. That was really great, but I didn't have the budgets. I didn't have the support network that typically you have in these big organizations. So that was the first shock to my system. And on top of that, I think the biggest shock for anyone starting a small business is you miss the support network of people. You're very isolated, I found. So that was the big challenge I found at the beginning of my business. And now at this stage, I'm about 2.5 years in, and there's been lots of learnings. Like, the learning curve has been vertical, you know, and it's just been, I suppose, a big further learning curve then to hit the COVID pandemic and how e-commerce just shot through the roof. So it was almost a blessing for businesses like mine, because it went from being something that I really had to push. And as John said, you know, content was really where it's at. So social media is a really important tool, as is email marketing. And actually the website platform itself was so important for me. And actually in the last month, we've relaunched the Beauty Kit website on a completely new platform, which is more efficient and just a little bit quicker, a nicer user experience. So there's just so many learnings. And the interesting thing that I find about it is you are right in the heart of it as the business owner. You have to be able to do it all. And that's the bit that sometimes can be the biggest challenge for a lot of people.
Well, why did you make the decision to go into business on your own? What propelled you to do that?
Well, I got the idea of the Beauty Kit back when I was at L'Oreal, which was about at this stage about 6 years ago. And I decided that there was an opportunity in the Irish market for a really good quality online beauty platform, because there were a number of them there, but a lot of Irish consumers shop on UK websites, and that's their go-to by default. And if they can't find what they want there, they might come to an Irish website. But with the fact that people are trying to shop more local now, with the onset of Brexit, there's no better time than now, I think, for an Irish business to really play in this space. And for me, I just felt that what I could do differently is offer this mix of great international brands, like the likes of Olaplex, as Vashti mentioned before we came on air, but also couple that with great Irish brands like the likes of Pestle and Mortar, sculpted by Amy Connolly. These brands are phenomenal. The quality is exceptional. And to be able to bring those Irish brands alongside the international brands is just the perfect mix for consumers. So that's what I'm aiming to do. And on top of that, then I'm trying to tap back into my own expertise in the industry from my years at L'Oreal, where I was shipped off to Paris for training sessions for this, that, and the other for years. And just using that knowledge to help consumers on a local level that you can't get from the huge, UK companies. People contact me all the time just asking which skincare is right for me, or which shade of foundation should I choose. And because it's a one-to-one type of communication, it's something that I can manage, that I can do for them. So I think with the Beauty Kit, what I've aimed to do is to try and have that personal connection and that education piece that maybe other sites can't offer. And for consumers then, I want them to know that they can get an efficient delivery within 1 to 2 days in Ireland. It's packaged beautifully. It's a lovely experience to shop on the website. And also my real aim and ambition with the Beauty Kit is to drive the message of trust with consumers, because I feel that that is so important for a small local business, and that's really the ambition.
Great.
Yeah, and how to make that obvious and part of the experience is really crucial. And I think you hit on an interesting point as well, particularly from an Irish market perspective. Like, Irish consumers generally are one of the most likely to shop online of any country in Europe, and our e-com penetration has been ahead of most countries in Europe. But to the point you make, 75 to 80% of it is outside the country. So it's going to be interesting now that Amazon.co.uk, with Brexit and everything else, and that changing feel.
It's a big opportunity, John, isn't it?
For Irish brands and Irish e-com sites to go, take more of that business back home, if you like, because Irish consumers, we know, are up for it. And now that we've got air codes and delivery and courier stuff has got so much more easier and so much more reliable, I think the experience has improved for the end customer as well. So it's only going to accelerate. And we really need to, we punch above our weight in many spaces, and we've been underachieving in this space, I think, for a lot of the clients. And it's just about just doing some of the basic things that you are all describing, doing that right. I think it'll improve going forward.
Let's now talk to Nikunj, and here's something that I'm very interested in. I'm not saying I'm not beautiful or any which way, and I struggle. What nuts I'm nutty about. And Nikunj, you run Nutty Delights. Tell us about that.
That's right.
Tell us about that.
Sure. So, as a Nutty Delight started in 2016 July, we started with one store in Georgia Street Arcade. And we've seen a very quick success in starting a nut store as in retail, because there was nobody doing that. And we were specializing in putting ourselves in premium quality nuts and selling good quality A grade to say, which people are interested. And we were kind of not, as I wouldn't say that would be a big statement, but we were changing a pick and mix industry as such. We put it out as a pick and mix to, instead of jellies, we did nuts and dried fruits and stuff. So 2018, we opened our second store in Jerry Shopping Center, which gave us a little bit of a broad light, which put out our brand in people's mind. Because Georgia Street Arcade is mostly touristic, a lot of tourist people comes down there. I'm talking pre-COVID stuff. And now Jervis brought us in limelight of people knowing us in Irish demographics and people calling us for wholesales. So 18 and 19 were very, very busy years for us, developing as a brand and then putting out wholesale retail packs in different stores and stuff like that. From 2017, we always had an e-commerce store. We developed e-commerce store as in like for people who are traveling from Europe and UK, visiting our store in Georgia Street Arcade, liking our product, wanting to order and stuff like that. So we created that e-commerce store, especially for European travelers and UK travelers. And we were okay. I wouldn't say we were good. COVID hit, and before COVID, we joined eBay as well because we knew that our products were selling well in UK and European markets. People were loving our all the flavored nuts and our dried fruits, which are especially sugar-free and stuff like that. So we put on our products in eBay, and COVID hit. I think we joined in January, COVID hit in March. eBay sales got 1,000% up, and we were busy from 17th of March, if you have to say 18th of March, as the lockdown started. With eBay, we had a good few months, 2-3 months. Then our website, in March as well, we started our ads on Facebook, and we started doing email marketing. We were not doing the best email marketing then because we didn't had that many email. But over the period of time until July, we were ready to close the eBay market because it was not viable. As you may know, eBay takes a lot of percentages and it's heavy. It's very costly to send to UK as well. So we stopped thoroughly eBay market and we focused on our website. As our products were not available on eBay, those eBay customers converted to our website because we were sending vouchers and stuff to convert to our website. And all these emails which we got within the period of 3 months and ads performance and stuff doubled up. July to December were quite up and down, bumpy ride with e-commerce because everything was open, close, open, close. But from January, as John was mentioning there, a lot of people had good January, better than December, and similarly we did as well. And from January, we are having a consistent growth there. We see a nice, smooth roadway there where our e-commerce is going. Now everything is opening up. I mean, we are still not at a bad situation. We're staying still growth or just a consistent moving with the e-commerce website there as well.
I wonder, Nick, is it a case that people took that 6 months to get used to the idea, like you were seeing a little bit more stable performance this year? You know, as you described, that better trajectory. I wonder, is it just the usual thing that it takes us a period of time to change our habits, and maybe it took 6 to 9 months for people to change their habits?
100%, I would totally agree on that because a lot of our customers were between 35 and 65, and mostly women. So it's very hard, and as you may understand that Ireland is not a very tech-savvy country. You know, we're still getting there. We're not 100% there, and some parts of Ireland still doesn't have good internet and stuff. And we just do not provide in Dublin. We do all over Ireland, and we need that all of Ireland to be covered. So people have definitely got used to online as they were not last year. This year, we can see people are still ordering and purchasing from their comfort of their home and stuff. But we did a very good thing. I mean, I'm so proud of that. I got myself bragging about me here. But we gave out free delivery in month of March, April, May. So order as much as amount you like. Doesn't matter, just get a free delivery. What people are intrigued to get is free delivery, you know, like they don't want to spend any extra what they were spending through. And I think that's what have helped us getting in more customers and stuff. And good for us. People were not ordering anything less than 10 euros. That's how we can survive. We can afford free deliveries if the order is about 15 euros or more. Every 20-30 orders, we got one order where it was less than 10 euros of stuff. But again, yeah, that did help us a lot as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
I can imagine, Nikunj, if somebody's going to go onto your website, they are going to order more than they buy at you know, at a shop or whatever. So I do imagine that you'd order a little bit more, all right.
Yes, 100%, because we provide pick and mix in our store. So they are allowed to take 5 almonds and 10 cashews and
Yeah, yeah,
stuff, and they can mix and match and make a small bag out of it. While in
yeah,
website, we don't have that. We have minimum of 100 grams per product to buy at
yeah.
least. So yes, definitely.
and in terms of the fulfillment costs, Nick, like I mean, obviously,
And but
how do you manage your fulfillment costs for ordering? I mean, on I guess the relatively low order values.
We may have lost Nikunj there.
Yeah.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
sorry, yeah, yeah, okay. Sorry, John, you were saying something?
Yeah, I just like, I mean, one of the challenges, as you say, like everybody loves to give free shipping on one level, but it's expensive, or can be expensive, or can really eat into your margins. Who are you using, just as curiosity, as a fulfillment provider? Is it on Post or somebody else, or is it expensive?
So can you hear me there? Sorry,
Yeah, I hear
it
you,
keeps
yeah.
on breaking. I'm sorry, my internet is not so great though. But yeah. It is expensive. It is expensive, but what we did a great deal with Fastway couriers,
Right.
which we had DPD before that as well, and we were sending all the international deliveries, European deliveries via DPD because they are efficient and fast enough. But what we did during lockdown was just in the month of March itself, just before lockdown, we got a good deal with Fastway couriers. Send up to 30 kilos, whatever you like, and we got a really good deal on that one. But as you know, Fastway are not so efficient. We lost quite a bit of orders, customers because of that and stuff. But it gave us a chance to grow and do that free delivery and provide great customer service. While from our end, if Fastway were not able to do that, but it gave us a base to provide, bring on new customers on our platform and stuff. Now, as things got normal, we changed again to DPD, and we are running smoothly now. It's okay,
Yeah.
but it can be costly, as I said, but the order amounts needs to be substantial as well to get that delivery cost out of them.
The way I think about it, and I could be wrong, but I mean, you have two key metrics that most people are looking. One is average order value, which you obviously keep an eye on as well, because you're looking at, you don't want too many orders below 15 euros or whatever. And then the second one is lifetime value, customer lifetime value. So, because that's really important when you're trying to acquire a new customer. If you're assuming you're ever only going to sell them one product at 15 euros, well, then you can't afford to spend very much acquiring that new customer. If you know that customer, once you have them once, they're going to buy once a month, for the next 3 years, and that's going to be 30 orders. That's a very different equation. And it means you can invest in different ways to get that customer. So yeah, I mean, I think that's interesting.
It occurs to me, John, if I can flip right over
Yeah.
to Liz again. Liz, the delivery from your point of view, do you guys do free delivery? That wouldn't be possible, would it? Because I'd imagine the cost of shipping would be expensive enough.
Yeah, well, there is a significant well, I suppose it's kind of relative to the piece, but there can be a significant cost to packing and shipping. My brother, who's a sculptor, and he runs the bronze foundry here, he's quite fascinated by packing. So he's very, very careful, and he professionally packs everything really, really carefully. So yeah, you could be looking at anything from, it really is how long is a piece of string, but I'll give you an example that if we were shipping a piece around Ireland, we might use, depending on how quickly, we more than likely would use on Post. They're by far, out of all the courier services, they're by far as we can see, the most efficient, the simplest tracking service. And if the follow-up is incredible. So we've never had a piece go missing, touch wood, we've never had anything go wrong. But we also have our own insurance, so that's important. You could be paying anything 20 or 30 euros depending on the size of a piece of art, because it comes to weight. If it's bronze, it might be a bit different. If it was going to the States, you might be looking at anything around 100 euros to ship it. And if you were to employ an art handler, which we have had to do in the past, then it becomes a very different ball game. It really depends how much the customer wants that piece. That's what it comes down to then. But
yeah,
it was one of the things that we felt we were going to probably have to give an awful lot of attention to get right, you know, and we did. I think we've got it right. Yeah.
okay.
But you know, to answer your question, we can't offer free shipping, but quite often if a conversation is happening, like if someone says, look, I really want this piece of art and is there any movement on it, we might be able to talk to the artist and say, look, we'll split the cost of shipping with you, or we'll cover the shipping costs, or whatever. It's not always cut and dry, you know.
Okay. Vashti, you wanted to come in there.
Oh, yes, I wanted to chime in on shipping because it has been one of our biggest challenges throughout not just the pandemic, but also prior to that with our other businesses. Because as some of you may or may not know, the United States Postal Service is caught in sort of a political crossroads. So it has become underfunded and understaffed more and more, especially throughout the last administration. So a lot of the complaints that let me correct myself, 100% of the complaints that we do receive from customers, because we do not get complaints about anything else, it is always a lost package or a delayed package.
Yeah.
100% of the time. Every single day we have a daily meeting where the customer service manager tells us customer complaints and also customer requests. And it's always the same thing: USPS package delay or lost package. And we keep trying different things to see how we can solve the problem. One of them being that we've offered our customers private options for shipping. So UPS or FedEx, for example, but they are so expensive.
Oh yeah.
Just 5 times as expensive. So for example, our average fulfillment cost is $4.70. It's about €350, which is not bad. But if you use UPS, it's about $20 or €17 for the same delivery time. So I'm sorry, delivery window. So about 7 to 10 business days. And so people will often not choose that option, but then you get lost packages. So that has really been a challenge for us.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily an easy one to solve. I mean, you do, when a customer has a problem, how you handle that problem can sometimes, you can turn that customer into a raving fan just by handling a bad situation well, which is the sort of thing you have to do too, because the old story, you know, we always leave reviews, bad reviews. A dissatisfied customer is more likely to leave a bad review all day long, and then you're on the back foot trying to work your way back.
Yeah, usually what we.
Sorry, Vashti, go ahead.
Usually, what we do is that we'll immediately reship the item. It doesn't matter if it's lost or if it's been taking too long, and our co-founder will write a handwritten note, and we'll include a gift. A small gift, another product that they may not have purchased, just as part of an apology. We don't ask questions. We just send it because we understand that it is frustrating, especially for our kind of customer, because Infinite Age sells health and wellness products, and people, especially now because of the pandemic, are really more focused on their health and well-being, and people want to get started on their health and wellness journey. And I know it can be frustrating when, oh, you want to get this started and your package isn't here yet, it's been a week or 10 days.
You don't want to be putting years on them, and instead of giving them
exactly.
I like it. Yeah. Okay. What about Anne? Do you have any shipping issues?
Well, shipping is a really crucial part of my business, clearly, as well. And I've had a jump from a few different courier companies, I must say, over the last number of years, because obviously I'm not going to name and shame, but some of them are better than others. Right now I'm using DPD as well. I find them phenomenal. I think they're brilliant. My guy who comes for the collection every day is so lovely and friendly and reliable. I think the tracking system is brilliant. And I just think, for me, for my business, one of the key reasons people shop with a local business is because they think they're going to get their product quicker. And if my courier company can't provide that service, it impacts directly on the experience my customer has with my business. So that's why it is so critical. And that's just such an important part of it all for me. So yeah, it's something I've spent a lot of time on, and actually looking currently at trying to find a way to do a same-day delivery, which isn't really done in this industry currently. I'm speaking to a supplier on that. So I think that will make a big difference.
Okay, that's Aspire down. And
the ironic thing is, there's actually a courier at my door right now. Somebody's ringing my doorbell, and my 11-year-old is waving at me.
Well, listen, we're going to let you go and answer that in a second.
Excuse me.
I think that brings us nicely to an end. John, any thoughts on what you've heard from everyone here today then?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of thoughts as we went through it. I mean, I think for anybody moving into the space, or you know, is to use your current assets, you know, in the best way that you can. So, like Nick, with the current customer base they had in the shops and the retail, that this is it's a multi-channel experience now. And so building off that, and the same, I think, Liz, I think you had the same experience in terms of the gallery, using that customer list, that email list that you have, that you've built up. These are people who know you, trust you, you know, and you'll so much easier to get repeat business from when you've done a good job than trying to find a new customer. So I think that's the first thing in terms of using the assets that you have in terms of your existing customers, your existing locations, and building those into part of your e-commerce solution. The second thing I think was probably feeding off something Anna sort of mentioned was, and again, it can't be a faceless experience. You know, it's got to be real and human, and you got to know who you're dealing with. So people will shop local. They will, you know, they will buy into the company's reason for doing this business, rather than, you know, we're not always mercenaries. We're just going to find the lowest price and we're going to buy from that. You know, we've all too many bad experiences of having bought something that turned up on a door that wasn't quite what we expected. So building, you know, anything time you have trust with an existing customer base, you got to utilize and reuse that as much as possible. And then the other thing is customer experience, which is not just, I mean, shipping and fulfillment is a huge part of that, particularly for physical products. But even the speed of the site, like some people had re-platformed, so how the site looks, how it works, you've got to invest in it. Like too many businesses I'm talking to, they look as their web developer as a cost. And no, that's your shop. That's where you're bringing your customer to. And if it's not fast, if it's not well designed, and there's good principles and practices you have to follow, and if you're not, you got to treat that as your monthly rent almost, you know, your physical shop, and you got to be continuously investing in it. And thankfully, technology doesn't cost as much as it used to these days. But if you're not continuously investing in that, you know, it's like the shop you haven't painted for 5 years, or the threadbare carpet when you walk in the door, it's not a good customer experience, and you're going to lose customers. So maybe the three sort of things, Brendan, that like just listening to everybody, and I have to say, I love all the stores that we had on here today. I think you're all doing a great job. So, you know, and I think we know the reasons why in terms of what you've been describing over the last 45 minutes or so. Just those focus on the right areas makes a huge difference.
Listen, I want to thank you all very, very much. I really enjoyed this, and hopefully we'll have reason to either meet with you guys or else visit your websites pretty soon again. Listen, thank you all.